But first, we want to welcome on our guest, which is Aimmee Kodachian. But let me tell you a little bit about Aimmee before we welcome her on. She is the author of a book called Tears of Hope. Her riveting, very true life story is of a young Middle Eastern woman who is a Christian woman, girl who lived 13 years through the Lebanese Civil War. She was only 12 years old when a bomb killed her older brother right in front of her. In the blink of an eye, her family would soon lose everything and become homeless. After years of persistence and determination, Aimmee became a businesswoman, and that's definitely what we're talking about tonight, how to make it through your struggles. She not only found a way to rise above many of her challenges, she also learned how to see light through darkness. And let me tell you something. As I announced last week, I've been through some things in the last year, and I have been definitely in the darkness, in the light, back and forth, and it can be very hard. But she's definitely going to talk about how she was able to go through something probably even definitely a little bit more traumatic than myself and probably most of you guys who are listening. So she believes that her life has been saved for a reason. So I definitely want to welcome on Aimmee Kodachian. See, I say Kardashian. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You did a lot, Aimmee.
Thank you. Great introduction, Crystal.
You're welcome. You get that a lot because of the Kardashians? Do you get the...
Oh, yes. And the first thing it's not Kardashian, it's Kodachian.
Exactly. Well, let me tell you something. I'm very excited about you being on. I did listen to when you were on the Talk to Q radio show, which is, I would call my brother's site. And you know, I was riveted by your story and by the things that that you were talking about on the show. And I said, you know what, I got to get her on the show, on my own show, because there are things that I know I have gone through in my life that have taken me places to dark corners, and I've often wondered, how do I get out of this? How do I wake up the next day? So when I saw and read a little bit in your book about, you know, just hope itself and determination, it made me think, you know, more people are going through these things, and people who have gotten to the other side of it and have real advice for people. So thank you so much again for coming on.
Oh, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, because, you know, like you said, we all have stories. I mean, life doesn't stop. Life didn't stop for me. It didn't stop for you. Obstacles, challenges, we all still go through it in different ways. It just will never stop. I think it just maybe we learn how to deal with it and look at it in different perspectives. And I think it just, people look at me now and say, well, yeah, you don't go through anything right now. No, are you kidding me?
Right.
I still go through challenges, and sometimes I go through the darkness, and then I know how to pull myself back up, because I learned skills, and I had no choice but learning. I mean, the other choice will be depressed and stay in the corner and die. You know, living in the world, that's why you have the choice. The choice, either you get up and you dust yourself up and you say, okay, what can I do now?
Exactly.
Or you be depressed. So the skills that I learned, and that's why I like to share. I mean, I can't share all of them on the radio, because there is so many different lessons that I have learned. That's why I wrote the book, right? So there is so many different ways that we see our life in the darkness, and then different things that we use. Sometimes particular steps that we take or particular things that we do doesn't work with other situations that you're going through. So that's why the book is explained throughout the obstacles that I've been through. Every obstacles I share with everyone, what did I do in this particular obstacle and how it worked for me. And my hope is that you carry that lesson or the things that I learned into your life, and maybe that would uplift you, you know.
Well, Aimmee, tell us just maybe one or two of your life-changing experiences that you went through to give people an idea of where you're coming from when you're saying that, you know, you've made it through the struggles.
Well, I could share a couple of the struggles because there is so many. Like I said, the first struggle that I had to learn how to see light through darkness is when my brother, I was sitting in the room with my brother talking about future. He was giving me hope that he's going to help me in school. As you know, I have dyslexia. And I was in fourth grade when I was only at 12 years old. And also, I'm supposed to repeat that because I'm supposed to go back to fourth grade again. I couldn't even graduate. So my brother gave me hope, and he saw different things in me. And he gave me hope he's going to help me. This is where I was having the conversation, and my father told him, don't go anywhere because the situation in the country is not good. And he said, no, I'm having a great conversation with Aimmee. So Robert, actually, he was 8 years older than me. He was supposed to go to the kitchen and get his tea. And I said, no, I'll go get your kitchen. And he kind of like gave me permission to go. And he looked at me and he said, okay, you know, I told him I'll be right back. And he's like looking at me, okay, I'll be waiting for you, go, kind of, you know, and a big smile. And I turned my back, and what saved my life was a wall in between. I turned my back towards the kitchen. This is where a missile came in through the window and killed my brother instantly, and the whole room was inflamed.
Oh my God!
At that moment, I was still in my pajama, 12 years old, looking at the room where I was there in a second ago. And seeing my brother burning and looking at the other room, my mom panicked because we were living in a 5-story building, and each one of those each one of the level of the building, a missile came in, and one after another, and it was shocking. It was surprising. We never been in a war before. So that was completely shocking to me. And my mom, she tried to throw herself from the window, and my father was holding her back, you know, and my father was looking at me, are you okay? And I'm looking at my mom trying to throw herself. My brother is burning in the room, and the whole building is bomb coming. It's chaos. So that was a huge moment in my life as a child. And when my father, a couple days later, we don't have time to go through all this. A couple days later, my father looked at me. I was still shaking from the situation, and everybody was giving attention to my mom because back then, you're a kid, you don't understand anything, don't go and sit down. They were giving attention to my mom, families everywhere in the small room. My father came to me. He had a lot of wisdom. He came to me and he sat down, and he put his hand on my shoulders and he said, look at me. I was looking at him, and I didn't know what he was trying to say, but then he said, look at my eyes. I looked at his eyes, and he said, you see that white? I said, yes. He said, do you see that brown? I said, yes. He said, you see that small dark black? I said, yes. He said, sometimes we have to go through darkness to see the light.
Wow.
And one day you understand what the light is. And that shook me from the moment where I was actually shaking, like shook my core to think about it, to just think about it. And I learned every time I'm in any kind of situation to shake myself up and try to look for the light and try to grab for the light, that what is it that I could see. And then later on, I really appreciated what happened because all of my family were sitting in that room earlier.
Okay,
I could have lost all of them, not one. I could have lost all of my family, because we were meeting. My father wanted us to have a meeting, family meeting, to flee to Egypt, to go to Egypt before the war breaks. And all of them were sitting in that room.
You
imagine that?
You make an interesting point, because a lot of times when people talk about sudden death and a person dying very young, they say, well, if they weren't there, that this didn't happen, or if we had done this. But sometimes it really does make you look at what fate and what God has planned for us, because as you said, you got up and you took a moment and you said, I'm going to go and get you some tea. And they didn't happen to be there at that time, but he was. And, you know, it was his time. How have you dealt with did you have any survival, you know, kind of grief or guilt at that time, or as you grow older?
Well, I actually felt guilty about that. I felt guilty that he's alive and I'm not. If I'm smiling, I'm happy, and he's not smiling. You know what I mean? I had to hold that for a long, long time. But then my faith, what kept me going, and you know, and what kept me, you're asking me what kept me going, is that what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is what kept me going. Like I said, I had two choices. Either I was going to break down, which my mom broke down and she started on medication, and she was completely gone, or I wanted to stand up. And what they did back then, they put me in the mountain with my little brother, 6 years old, and to keep us safe over there. And it was safe, but we get caught up from the food. We were in the mountain from water. There is no communication with my family. I thought I would never see my family again. When we were staying in the mountain, you could see the bomb in Beirut. You could see the bombing flying from one area to another. And I used to think, I'm losing my whole family. What's happening? My life completely changed. And I had to take care of my 6 years old. So this is what happened. I was in darkness, and I was in a dark place at 12 years old. I had to take care of my brother. He's digging in the garbage to eat. I had no adult next to me. There is the school principal, but there is nothing like family adult. And they were treating us like just a number. I had to wait in line just to get food. So I was afraid for my brother. He's telling me he's afraid, and I had to take care of him. So one day, I sat down on the bench. I still remember, I cannot forget this moment. And I had a big tree behind me, so I put my back on the tree in the back. And I looked up, and that's the only way I had to ask God for help. And I looked up, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to keep going. Robert is gone. My family is gone. I have my brother digging in the garbage. He's scared. I don't know what to do. Help me. And I reached out to God, and I felt his light. I felt light fulfilling my darkness, honestly. Wow. And that moment, I just had some magic energy. I just felt love, and I felt light, and I felt energy to get up and take care of my brother. See, I was afraid, and I turned my fear into faith, and I kept my faith in God. And God, since that moment, I had a built relationship with God. I had a built a strong relationship with God that you could ever imagine, because I just couldn't read the Bible. I didn't know how to read very well at all. And, but I kept his words in my heart. And every time I needed something, I just knocked, and I seeked, and I reached out. And that's what Jesus said, knock, seek, and ask. So it's every time I needed something, that's where I go. That's where my home. And I ask for strength, and I get the strength somehow, you know.
Well, exactly, and then that is definitely what we all should definitely do when we have that feeling of when we're right there in the corner, in the darkness, and just ask and pray, and however any of us want to consider that higher power, whether it's energy or God or however you feel, just look into yourself and say, please help me. And I do want to bring on another caller who's called in, and I want to see if she has any questions for our guest, Aimmee. And we're talking to Aimmee Kodachian, and at 657-383-0554 if you have any questions. And caller, you're on the line on the Crystal Show. Thank you for calling in.
Crystal?
Yes. Oh, hey, Aimmee. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Do you have a question for Aimmee?
Actually, yeah, I do. My cousin, we lost my 17-year-old cousin a little over a year ago. It was around Thanksgiving time, and her mother, which is my cousin, she's like Krista was saying, she's not really sure about that higher power. She's lost so much faith in anything because she can't understand why her daughter, out of 5 kids in one vehicle, only one child died, and it was her daughter, my little cousin Drew. And she just can't find that. She can't find that faith and that comfort. And it bothers me because she calls me and we grew up like sisters together. And sometimes I don't know what to say. Will she ever find any kind of comfort? How does she reach for the answer to that question when she's lost so much faith in everything?
Sure. Well, this is something nobody can understand her pain. It just, you will have a sympathy for her. And the only thing that I can see is she needs someone who is close to God and who can reach out to her and let her understand that a child is an angel out there. And one day she's going to see that child. And we all are tested here in this life, and God never promised that everything is going to be perfect. He never promised everything's going to be perfect. So if she could get this to understand that it's not perfect, and if she could just change her perspective and celebrate the time that she was with her, this is what I did. I'm not comparing my pain to hers because it's totally different, her child. If she could celebrate the time that she had with her, she could understand that's what her daughter wants her to do. As long as she's in pain here, she's keeping her daughter stuck out there, and she's not happy in her soul. And I think that might open her heart a little bit and understand the celebration of her life instead of the loss of her life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, one of the most disturbing things that happened was that while Drew was trapped, somehow this got anonymously told to my cousin that when Drew was trapped in the car, that she was screaming for her mother before she lost consciousness. And Susan
that sound is still in her head. And she feels like obligated that she needed to reach out and help her. Okay? And if I have to tell her anything, she is still screaming until she let go. Then she's going to be helping her soul. Maybe her message was saying, maybe when she left with that message to her mom, to let go and be okay with it. She's not going to be happy about it, but let her soul fly. If she's stuck, let her soul fly, and let her go where her soul's supposed to be, and one day she'll reach her. I think it's just what's happening to her is psychologically. She's stuck. Like I was stuck when my brother died, and he's supposed to go to the kitchen, not me. And to know that I was survived and he didn't, that basically was killing me inside. And I could see that pain. I could see her pain until she started to understand otherwise, that there is reason what's happened, and we don't understand the reason sometimes because God is bigger than anything else, and it's so hard for us to understand. And let me give you an example, okay? For example, that's a little bit different, but maybe that helps her to see her life in a different perspective. God does his own magic. I don't want to call it magic, but miracles and whatever. And he really gives you what you want on his time, not on your time. And as long as you surrender to him, then you feel the light coming through it. Through you. When I surrendered in the mountain and I allowed God to come into my heart, then and only then I was able to receive his love and the energy and the light and the hope that I was looking for. Surrender to God. And as long as she's hanging on there to the words that came from another human, which is her daughter, then she's stuck in different place. She can't reach both of them. Surrendering, it's a beautiful thing, but you're gonna surrender to the right thing. She's surrendering to the words instead of the words that her daughter left, instead of surrendering to God and allow him to work through her. Maybe there is a message she can go out there and deliver. Maybe there is something she needs to go out there and do that makes her feel good. Maybe God wants to use her to educate people what they need to do when they're, I don't know the story, but maybe there is something for her there. You see? Okay. Maybe help her to see what's in it that you need to go out and educate people and save other people's kids, other people's life.
Yes, we have started a blood drive now every year in Drew's honor. There's a softball tournament in her honor every year. So we do several things to honor her, because her death really it not just tore up our family, it tore up the whole community. The entire community was sad over it.
Well, maybe she gave her life for you guys to stand up and save other kids' life. She's a hero. She is a hero. If the mother understands her daughter is a hero, that makes her feel better, which makes me feel better every time I share my insight with everybody. I feel my life is worth to be saved. Does that make sense? I feel when I wrote the book, that's where I start feeling I'm living. When I start to do my seminars and change people's lives, I start to feel I'm living. Now it's worth it for me to live. That's why God saved my life. Okay.
Great.
And I totally agree, Aimmee, because your book, Tears of Hope, that is what, when we go through the things that we go through, it is like our obligation, whether it is we go through trauma or whether we have success as far as whether it's money or other successes. When we have an audience, we have an obligation to assist and help others. And I know that your book, Tears of Hope, definitely can do that for people. Now, you also have a YouTube show that you do.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now. It's in the process. I'm working on that. It's not complete yet. It's coming soon.
And you also have your seminars as well.
Yes, I have my seminars, and this is where I live. I have been changing people's lives, and one of the lives that I have changed, her name is Stephanie Thompson, and she turned around and became, she was an opera singer, but she was stuck in the darkness. And coming to my seminar, her life completely changed. And I received the message that I need to write a song to have peace in the world, and I want to give 100% of the profit out. So I asked her, and she helped me. We wrote it together, and she sang that song for my book right now, for my mission. If you go to my website, you can hear it and see the video. Me and my grandkids actually in that video, my granddaughters. It's a beautiful song. It's about peace in the world. But look what happened. By me doing what I'm doing, Stephanie Thompson is living her life and purpose right now. She's writing. She wrote 10 songs. She never thought she could write songs. She has a beautiful voice that she's going to heal people through her voice. What I'm saying is when we give, we live. And now we pass it on to other people to give. So I would recommend for, I don't know her name, the lady who lost her child, maybe give her bigger position in helping how she would like the voice to be with, about her daughter. I think that would give her more speaking for her daughter. If she have a little bit small part of it, give her more to do. Give her more things to do.
Well, Aimmee, I would like to say thank you so much for coming on to the Crystal Show. I want everybody to know to go to your website, which is stepintoyourlightnow.com. And do you have another site? Is that your main site there?
That's everything. They could download the ebook or audiobook. They could watch the video, the Rise Above, hit on the song, watch the Rise Above song. And my mission right now is to help children who suffered through the war and tragedies. I'm giving back to the world. I get the opportunity to be in the United States, and it's my time right now to give back,
Well, I am so glad that you were able to come on to the show and share with my audience your inspiration, because to me, just being able to go through what you've gone through and to be able to still continue to walk, to talk, to believe, and to have faith in life is amazing, and we should all learn from that.
Thank you so much. We all have something, I'm sure what you went through. It's what I heard your episode last week, and I could see you have the cancer, and that was a different bomb to you, and a different something that I didn't experience. So I admire you for standing up too and speaking your truth and helping people understand that we can do it. We're all here to help each other.
Well, thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Aimmee. And we can definitely, after this show, we'll have Aimmee's interview. Will be onto the site. It will be, of course, on Blog Talk Radio and on our iTunes. If you want to share with other people to get that message of inspiration, because that's really what it's all about. So thank you so much, Aimmee.
Thank you.